Hey scrappy people, Traci Reed here today, coming at you with a fun process video in my Life Crafted album. Today I'm going to be using the Harvest Festival papers that I designed for Catherine Pooler, as well as the coordinating stamps called Fall Finds, plus these beautiful veneer and acrylic from Colorcast Designs. So I had an idea. And as ideas do, this one evolved over time and turned into something much more magical than I initially envisioned. I really love how this page turned out, but you are going to have to stay with me because 99% of this video, it is going to look like a hot mess. And when we hit the magic point where I went, oh, yep, that's it. I'll point it out to you. But first, we're going to be in Hot Mess Express territory for a while. So I have dies for the Fall Finds stamps that are leaves. There's lots and lots of different leaf dies for that set. And I'm going to use the Harvest Festival patterned papers and the leaf dies. I have 4 papers in total, and I'm going to cut out one leaf from each one of those papers, one copy of each leaf. There's 5 leaves altogether that I'm cutting out, but I'm only cutting out one copy of each. I'm going to do it for all 4 papers. And the papers that I chose intentionally to go with the wood veneer and specifically the acrylic colors in the collection. So I'm just roughing these up a little bit as I place them down, start trying to decide where I want each one to go. And honestly, at this point, it was just like a struggle bus city. I was like, okay, I have an idea and I know it will be beautiful, but this is not it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp, and I don't suggest stamping always being your first thing, especially when you're basically designing an entire background from scratch, but I needed a place to start, and sometimes just committing helps me to start. So I really wish that the first thing that I had done was stamp the other orange that I pulled out. But the reason that I didn't stamp the other orange that I pulled out was because it was pink. And when I stamp it, it is almost exactly the orange color of that acrylic leaf, which matches better than the orange color that I already stamped. And I kind of wish I didn't have both versions of the stamp on there, but by the time I realized that, or both versions of the orange, but by the time I realized that that other orange is going to match perfectly, I'm already too deep to, start over. So it's okay, and I make it work, but man, wait until you see how perfect that orange that is actually pink goes with that orange acrylic piece. So now we're rolling. I'm starting to put things down. Here's that orange. See how perfect it is? We're rolling. I'm starting to put things down, and I'm going back and forth between paper and stamps, paper and acrylic, paper and wood veneer. I want them to overlap, but like you can see, I'm just on the struggle bus here, just like trying to figure out where things are going. Instead of cutting out any of this process, I decided to leave the whole thing in and just speed it up a lot so that you can see that there was no magic camera editing for when we finally get to a good place. It's just working through it. It's just going with it and staying with your idea, staying with your project until you finally hit that magic place and you're like, oh, okay, this is what I was going for. I knew we would get there eventually. So I feel like the trails are helping to break up the leaves a bit and leave a little bit of white space that doesn't feel blank. And so that's kind of what I'm doing when I put down the trails. That's kind of what I'm thinking about. I drew a circle around the block because that's where I'm going to put my my journaling, and so I want to leave that space open. It's not going to be directly on the paper, but I knew I wanted to have a circle to leave that place open. So now now that I have a lot of papers down, I'm starting to fill in the blanks with some more of the stamping. And I'm using little stamps and big stamps, just depending on where things are going and where it's going, like what's around it. And also I'm varying the colors based on what colors are surrounding it, because the main thing that I'm thinking about besides placement is color variation. So I don't want 4 of the same pattern right next to each other. And since both of the purple patterns that I chose are very, very dark, very deep, I want to make sure that they are fairly separated, especially the ones that have a lot of purple. Like that purple polka dot has a lot of purple, whereas the floral has some other colors too, so that can break it up some. But I'm just trying to make sure that nothing looks too heavy in one place or too dark in one place. So I'm introducing another leaf shape here because I thought that it would work well with some of this open space that I've got going on. And now we are in absolute hot mess express territory. It just looks like crazy right now. It's coming together, I promise, but right now we are just fussing around trying to figure out how it's going to come together. It's getting there though. And so I know that I've kind of maxed out a bit on paper leaves, especially on this side. So I don't really want to add a lot of paper if I can help it. I'm just going to kind of add it where it needs to break up some colors. So right here we have like 2 dark leaves that are right next to each other. So I wanted to add the brighter plaid to break up some of that dark leaf. And I'm okay with them overlapping a bit because if you can tell what I'm doing, on the photo itself, there are leaves on the ground. So I'm sort of replicating that photo with my background here. Even the placement of where my feet are in the photo versus where my journaling is going to be on the paper is like exact, right? So we're just kind of replicating the photo with paper, and I really am enjoying the process and trying to make sure that it comes out right. So like at this point right now, I'm going, okay, I like this. It's not quite what I'm envisioning, but I like it. So we're getting there. So I decided to switch up the leaves. I'm using the smaller veneer leaf on this side, and then I will put this purple one over here, and I feel like that balanced it a little bit better. And so we put the bigger wood veneer leaf over there. Felt like I needed to close in this corner a little bit, or this edge, closing in a few of the edges. And now we're starting to get more of that overlap vibe, and now it's starting to come together. So I'm liking it. And I've used all of my leaves, which is amazing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out a drawer that I keep that has like tags and labels and things like that. And when I do that, I notice that there are some really cute little teeny tiny tags in it. And this is the moment where I go, oh, this is gonna do it. This is going to make this page interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang, quote unquote, hang these tags across the page vertically to create some vertical lines and to just change up what is over here. And so I stapled down the string so that it is in a straight line. You can see I put 3 down. I thought about adding a 4th, but no. And then I'm going to add my journaling circle. We're going to slow down a bit here. Add my journaling circle. And I'm going to mat it in one of these papers. I decided to go with, I think the yellow. Yeah, I'm going to go with the yellow because I felt like we could use a little bit more lightness here. So I'm going to use this acrylic block again to cut out this circle. But when I mat the white journaling circle on this pattern circle, it's too big. It takes up too much space. So I'm just going to put the white circle down, and then I'm going to hand cut around the edge and make it smaller. I probably make it a little bit too small because there's too much of a gap between the leaves and the paper when I put it back down again, but I'm going to go with it. No big deal. Yep, cute. So that's where I can add my journaling. I'm going to tuck it underneath. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some acorns to these. tags. How stinking cute is that? How perfectly does that divide everything up? And then I'm going to take this little tri-dot circle from the stamps, and I'm going to stamp some stamps and fill in some of these spaces. And this is the moment where I went, yes, this is it. This is what I wanted. This is perfection. So that is what I'm doing. I'm so excited the way that this came out. It is perfect. Such a fun page. And all I did was sit down with the intention of playing rather than I want to say rather than scrapbooking, but that's not really it. I just wanted to sit down and play with all of these leaves and this idea rather than having an end goal in mind. So I'm going to sketch out some lines to add my journaling, and then I'm going to call it good. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you gave it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There is a link to Colorcast Designs and Catherine Pooler in my description box below, and I will see you next time. All right, thank you.